I never thought I'd be the kind of man who starts his day by firing up a 40-ton bulldozer on his own land just to tear down something somebody else built. But life has a way of backing you into corners you never saw coming. It was a Tuesday in early May, the kind of morning where the Texas air still carries a little cool from the night, and the coffee tastes stronger than usual. I was standing at the kitchen sink rinsing a mug when the phone rang. The caller ID said, "Law Office, Richardson." I answered, half expecting a wrong number. Instead, a calm, practiced voice said, "Mr. Garrett, this is Paul Whitmore. I handled your Uncle Ed Harlan's estate. I'm calling to let you know he left you his 12-acre parcel out on County Road 819, free and clear. No mortgage, no liens, no funny business." I set the mug down so hard it cracked the handle clean off. Uncle Ed had been gone 6 months, and we hadn't been what you'd call close the last few years. He got quiet after the cancer came back, and I got busy with work. Still, 12 acres in North Texas is nothing to sneeze at. I thanked Paul, hung up, and stared out the window like the answer might be sitting in the backyard. It wasn't. The answer was 35 miles east, sitting empty while cedar and mesquite took over. I drove out that same afternoon just to lay eyes on it again. The gate was chained but not locked. Ed never was big on locks. The dirt road in was rutted, overgrown with yupon and prickly pear, but the farther I went the more it felt like stepping back into childhood summers. Ed used to let me fish the stock tank and shoot .22s at tin cans. The place smelled exactly the same. Dust, cattle in the distance, and that faint sweet note of wild dewberry blooming somewhere close. I didn't get far that first trip. The sun dropped fast behind the trees. So I came back the next morning at sunrise, thermos in one hand, the freshly recorded deed in the other. The light was soft and golden, the kind that makes everything look forgiven. I rolled the window down and let the truck crawl. I was smiling, thinking maybe this was the Lord's way of giving me a second chance at something I didn't know I'd lost. Then I saw the tracks. Not pickup tracks. These were wide, deep, and angry, the kind of track hoe or a big skid steer leaves when it's in a hurry and doesn't care what it tears up. They cut straight through a patch of Indian paintbrush Ed used to brag about. My stomach tightened. I killed the engine, stepped out, and followed them like a man walking toward bad news he already suspects. The trees opened up, and there it was. A brand new community pavilion, maybe 40 by 60, sitting pretty as you please in the middle of my clearing. Red-stained timber frame, 6 big stone columns, poured concrete slab, metal roof, ceiling fans already wired, and spinning lazily in the breeze. Picnic tables lined up in perfect rows. A stainless grill bolted down like it had been born there. Freshly planted crepe myrtles in a circle. And dead center on the front beam, painted in crisp white letters on hunter green. Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Community Pavilion. Residents only. I stood there so long my shadow moved 6 feet. The only sound was those damn ceiling fans humming like they were laughing at me. I walked the slab edge, boots echoing. The concrete was still so new you could see the broom marks. I pulled my phone, opened the Dallas County GIS viewer, zoomed until the parcel lines filled the screen. My boundary was a hard, clean line. The pavilion sat a solid 12 feet inside it. Not on the line, not straddling it, inside. No question, no gray area. I took a picture of the deed pressed against their sign and felt something shift in my chest. It wasn't just anger. It was the kind of calm that comes right before a storm decides to get serious. I found the association phone number on a little brass plaque by the steps. I dialed before I could talk myself out of it. Willow Creek, this is Susan speaking. Bright, practiced, the kind of voice that sells you a house you can't afford. I kept mine flat. "Ma'am, my name is James Garrett. I own the 12 acres east of your subdivision. There's a pavilion sitting on my land. I need to know who authorized it." Long pause, not confused, calculating. "Oh, you must be Ed's nephew. Ed was just the sweetest man. He gave us permission years ago. We've used that spot for book clubs, 4th of July, Easter egg hunts. The kids call it the party barn." She laughed like we were old friends. "I'm sure it's just a paperwork mix-up." "Susan," I said, the concrete's still curing. "The paint's wet. You haven't been using it for years." Another pause, colder this time. "Well, it was verbal permission. I'm sure we have something in writing somewhere." I told her I'd wait for that something, hung up, and drove straight to Henry Caldwell's office in town. Henry's been practicing property law since Reagan was president. His waiting room smells like old coffee and older paper. Betty, his gatekeeper, took one look at me and said, "Lord, James, you look like somebody ran over your dog. Go on back." Henry listened without interrupting while I laid out the photos, the GIS screenshots, the deed. When I finished, he took off his glasses, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and said 3 words I'll never forget. "That's theft, son." He leaned back. They didn't make a mistake. They saw an old man dying, a piece of land with no one on it, and they took. Happens more than you think. But Texas still has a few teeth left when it comes to private property. He drafted a cease and desist that afternoon. 10 business days to remove the structure and restore the land to its original condition, or I would remove it myself and bill them for the privilege. Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code gives you that right after proper notice. Henry mailed it certified, return receipt requested. I watched the tracking like a hawk. Susan signed for it 2 days later. 10 days came and went. The pavilion still stood, ceiling fans still spinning. That's when the game started. First came the county inspector in a white truck claiming an anonymous report of an open well. Mine's been capped and bolted since 1998. He poked around, wrote something on a clipboard, and left. 2 days later, a citation showed up in the mail. Then somebody dumped 6 bags of fast food trash along my fence line and called code enforcement. I spent a Saturday morning picking up other people's diapers and chicken bones while a city truck sat across the road taking pictures. Next came a notice that I was illegally clearing protected post oaks. I hadn't touched a tree, but somebody had chainsawed a few branches on the edge of the subdivision and dragged them onto my side. Every ticket, every visit, every fine was designed to do one thing: paint me as a reckless landowner so they could force emergency oversight, maybe even eminent domain down the road. Classic playbook. I was tired, mad, and starting to feel cornered. Then one morning, I found a manila envelope taped to my gate. No writing on the outside. Inside, a thumb drive and a post-it that said, "Watch this before it's gone." I drove to the empty parking lot of the old Baptist church and plugged it in. 3 files. The first was a screen recording of someone inside the county planning department opening a hidden GIS layer labeled "Proposed Adjustments. Do not publish." With each click, my eastern boundary slid west, 5 feet, 10, 15. A note in the corner read, "Approved D. Simmons per WCHOA liaison." The second file was shaky cell phone video shot from inside a jacket pocket. Susan's voice, clear as day: "Move it another 8 feet. Once the pavilion's been there a year, we'll claim adverse possession. He'll fold when the fines stack up." A nervous younger man. If auditing ever sees these logs, Susan cut him off. "Then you delete them. That's why you make the big bucks, Darren." The third file was a spreadsheet titled Priority Acquisitions. Columns for owner age, health status, out-of-state heirs, likelihood of resistance. My line was highlighted in red: recent death, nephew lives in Dallas, low engagement. I sat in that church parking lot until the sun cooked the cab of my truck. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was awake. I took everything to Henry. He watched without blinking. When it ended, he said, "We're past lawsuits, James. This is organized fraud. But we still have to play it smart. Step 1, independent survey." Henry called Mike Fletcher, the best land surveyor in 3 counties and a man allergic to bullshit. Mike spent 2 days running lines with a total station, tying everything to original 1948 monuments. When he drove the last stake, he looked at the pavilion, looked at me, and said, "That building is so far on your side of the line, it's practically in your living room." Step 2. I needed someone crazy enough to run a dozer through a neighborhood controversy, but smart enough to keep it legal. I called Tom Riley. Tom's been moving dirt since I was in diapers. I showed him the survey, the cease and desist receipt, the fraud files. He read every page, spit tobacco juice into a styrofoam cup, and said, "I'll need Henry to tell me himself I'm clear." Henry got on speaker. "You're shielded, Tom. Just don't hit anything that ain't on the encroachment list." Tom grinned. "Then load me up." The morning we picked was a Saturday, because I figured the audience would be bigger. I opened the gate at 6 a.m. By 6:30, Tom rolled in on a lowboy trailer, yellow cat D6 gleaming in the sunrise. Behind him came his skid steer and 2 dump trucks, just in case we needed to haul off souvenirs. Word travels fast in a subdivision with a Facebook group. By 7 o'clock, the far edge of my property looked like a luxury car convention: Teslas, Range Rovers, a couple of those new electric Hummers. Susan led the charge in cream slacks and heels that had no business on dirt. She marched straight to the dozer like she could stop 40 tons with indignation. "Stop right there," she screamed. "This is community property." Tom killed the engine, leaned out the cab. I walked over calm, carrying a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse. Susan kept yelling. I didn't raise my voice once. I held up Mike's survey first, big red line, official seal, pavilion sitting pretty in my half. Then the certified mail receipt Susan had signed. Then the statute printout. One by one I handed them to residents standing close enough to read. Somebody whispered, "That looks real." Susan snatched at the survey. "These are forged." A woman in yoga pants took a picture with her phone and started zooming in. "Susan, why does the county seal have today's date?" I never saw Susan's face change so fast. The color drained out like someone pulled a plug. Tom fired the dozer back up. The deep rumble rolled across the clearing like Judgment Day. Susan planted herself in front of the tracks, arms out. Tom looked down, shrugged, and dropped the blade, not forward, just down. The 6-ton blade hit the ground with a boom that rattled teeth. The shockwave snapped Susan's left heel clean off. She windmilled, landed hard on her backside in the red clay, mouth open in a perfect O. Half the crowd gasped. The other half tried not to laugh and failed. That's when the sheriff rolled in. 2 units, lights, but no sirens. Deputy Rodriguez stepped out, took one look at Susan covered in dirt, one look at my folder, and sighed the sigh of a man who'd rather be fishing. I handed him everything. He read for a long time. Finally, he looked at Susan. "Ma'am, you're on private property. Everyone here is trespassing. You got 60 seconds to clear out, or we start writing tickets." Susan tried one last scream. Rodriguez wasn't having it. "Ma'am, step back, or I cuff you right here." Tom raised the blade, eased forward. The first column exploded like cheap firewood. Bricks flew. The grill cartwheeled. 15 minutes later, the only thing left was a pile of splinters and a twisted metal roof panel flapping in the breeze. Susan watched the whole thing from the road, one shoe missing, makeup streaking, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. When Tom backed the dozer up and killed it, the silence was so complete you could hear the red-winged blackbirds start up again. 3 days later, the association sued me for $380,000, destruction of property, emotional distress, loss of community amenity, the works. 2 months after that, we were in the Dallas County Courthouse in front of Judge Elena Morales. Henry laid it all out. The deed, the survey, the hidden GIS layers, the secret recordings. When he played Susan ordering Darren to delete the logs, the jury box went dead quiet. Susan's lawyer turned the color of old oatmeal. Judge Morales didn't even send it to deliberation. She banged the gavel so hard I thought it might splinter. Case dismissed with prejudice. Defendant's costs and fees awarded. Matter of GIS tampering referred to the District Attorney for Criminal Investigation. MS. Susan Jennings, you are barred from contact with Mr. Garrett or his property, pending that review. The bailout came to just over $180,000 after punitive damages. The association sent every homeowner a special assessment to cover it. Dues tripled overnight. The Facebook group exploded. Susan resigned 2 weeks later to spend more time with family. Nobody bought it. I waited until the check cleared, then called Tom again. This time he brought a flatbed with a 6x4 steel plate, half-inch thick, powder-coated battleship gray. We poured a concrete base right where the pavilion used to sit and bolted the sign down so deep you'd need a cutting torch and a bad attitude to move it. It reads, private property. No Willow Creek HOA use, ever. In memory of the most expensive community shed in North Texas. Paid for by your special assessment. You're welcome. The first picture hit Reddit that afternoon. By nightfall, it was all over Texas Twitter. Somebody added cartoon tears running down Susan's face. Someone else photoshopped the sign into the Alamo. I don't check the subreddit anymore. I just keep the gate locked, the survey stakes painted fresh red every spring, and the coffee hot on the porch. Some mornings I walk out to the clearing and stand where those stone columns used to be. The wildflowers are coming back strong now, paintbrush, bluebonnets, a few brave little wine cups. The land looks like it's healing. And every time the wind moves across that open space, I swear I can hear Uncle Ed chuckling somewhere. The way he used to when he knew a secret you hadn't figured out yet. He always said nobody can take what you're willing to stand up for. Turns out he was right. So tell me in the comments, did I go too far with the bulldozer or not far enough? When somebody steals from you and the system drags its feet, where's the line between justice and vengeance? Ever had an HOA or a neighbor try to pull something like this on you? Drop your stories below. I read every single one.